which has taken the spotlight away from guys like I said, the Viking Experience or even Ricochet or whatever the case may be. It's tough to watch because as a wrestling fan, one of the biggest things, if you're my age, with 43 years old, you're either NWA or you're basically WWF back at the time. And
Correct.
To watch the WWF turn into WWE and watch the WWE basically turn into WCW right now, it's tough to watch. It's tough as a fan. And I'll be the first to admit, on a Monday, if I'm watching Raw, I guarantee I probably won't get through half of it before I turn down the volume and put a podcast on because it's not entertaining me at 43 years old.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if they had to find something to do. Quickly finishing off AEW's schedule, though, July 13th, they have Fight for the Fallen. A portion of the proceeds from this event, which is their third event, is going to go to victims of gun violence in Jacksonville, Florida, and it's happening at Daly's Place in Jacksonville. 3 matches announced. Brandy Rhodes versus Allie, which we know London's own, married to Pepper Parks. Kenny Omega taking on Sema, and Cody and Dustin taking on the Young Bucks in a tag team match. So they're building up some decent events. It's kind of interesting, though, that they're putting it all out there, what they already have booked, instead of slowly revealing it over time. And the final one that they have is All Out, and that's going to be back at the Sears Center in Hoffman Estates, Illinois, suburb of Chicago, and that's August 31st, 2019. It's also going to be the site of Starrcast 3. The main event is going to be a singles match for the first AEW Championship. Hangman Adam Page taking on Chris Jericho. And over at Starrcast, Dean Malenko's been announced, and it looks like one of the headliners is going to be Mick Foley. So, once again, we got AEW booked all the way up until the end of August. Your thoughts quickly?
If I can get the wife's permission, I am going to go to Chicago because it's okay. Las Vegas is too far away. I know flights are cheaper and everything else, but it would have been nice to be there. Knowing what they did in Chicago the first time around and the affiliation with Pro Wrestling Tees being there, and Sean pointed this out. I was all excited because the Starrcast 3 logo looked like the CM Punk tights, and Sean's like, no, it's a friggin' Chicago flag, and I was like, oh. Anyways, regardless of the fact, I mean, obviously they're playing on the wrestling fans and CM Punk, but Chicago is one of those cities, as far as my bucket list goes, that I'd love to go visit. Maybe my wife comes with me and I go to wrestling, and I know there's friends or family down there that she knows, so it'd be kind of cool. But I think who was it? Was it not Jake, but Nathan that had gone down for the first one? Is that right?
Nathan and James were there, and James's daughter.
Yeah, James being huge New Japan wrestling fan as well. But the pictures that they had, and the stuff that they were saying online and stuff like that, just an amazing experience. And being in Chicago would be absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, fingers crossed I get to go to AEW All Out in Chicago. But if not, I'll be watching on pay-per-view and enjoying Starrcast 3, just much like every other wrestling fan out there.
Excellent. So we'll be right back and quickly run down, before we run out of time, NXT Takeover 25 and our quick thoughts on tomorrow's Super Showdown.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a newsworthy few weeks for All Elite Wrestling. As some of you may know, some of you may be hearing for the very first time, AEW has entered into a TV deal with Turner Broadcasting. It's not missed on me. Sitting here in Atlanta, Georgia, the youngest of the Rhodes family, the weight of that announcement, the fact that pro wrestling is returning to Turner. And not only that, AEW has also entered into a TV deal with the UK's largest commercial television channel, that being ITV. It's unprecedented. And if you could refer to anything, it was over 2 decades ago. I mean, fans, this is your moment. It's my moment. It's our moment. And every bit of this, it starts May 25th, Las Vegas, Double or Nothing, MGM Grand Garden Arena. And here's how you can watch it. In the United States and Canada, it's on pay-per-view. Internationally, you can watch it on Fight. Specifically in the UK, you can see it on ITV. And even in the United States, you can watch it on BR Live. But the real purpose of me sitting here today is simple. I want to take a moment to thank you. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for your loyalty. Thank you for your patience. We can't do this without you. We don't intend to do this without you. Let's go forward. I have a saying amongst my brethren in the elite, let's live forever. I'm not naive enough to think any of us can live forever, but I think pro wrestling can make moments that do, and that is what AEW aims to do. So once again, from myself, from all of us at All Elite Wrestling, thank you.
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 Thank you. We couldn't have done it without each and every one of you fans for supporting us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Following the news that the former hottest free agent in pro wrestling, Kenny Omega, is joining AEW, London Comic-Con can finally announce that the Best Belt Machine is making his way to Southwestern Ontario for London Comic-Con 2019 this October. Omega will be available to meet fans, sign autographs, and host a special VIP video game tournament. More details and announcements are coming soon. Check out London Comic-Con for more details.
This is Jim Strider live from the Tyson Dukes Wrestling Factory, and you're listening to the Scumbags of Wrestling podcast.
And we're back with some WWE news, quickly running down NXT 25. It happened from Bridgeport, Connecticut at the Webster Bank Arena. This was the 25th takeover that they've had since the initial one, what started the network era of broadcasting for WWE, and TakeOver was one of their first events, and we've made it already to 25. So, sort of dark matches that were recorded for this week's edition of NXT was Keith Lee defeating Kona Reeves, and Mia Yim taking on and defeating Bianca Belair. Then we moved on to the actual show, and we had Matt Riddle defeating Roderick Strong. The Street Profits took on Oney Lorcan, Danny Burch, plus the Undisputed Era of O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, and the Forgotten Sons, Wesley Blake and Steve Cutler, in a four-way tag team match to determine the new NXT Tag Team Championship owners. And that was a ladder match, really great match, and the Street Profits ended up becoming tag team champions. This match featured a lot of first-time TakeOver people, because they've been in the company for a while, but first time they've been on a TakeOver. Velveteen Dream defeated Tyler Breeze. Breeze has come down from the main roster to rejoin NXT, and it's almost like Tyler Breeze versus Tyler Breeze 2.0. And then, obviously, Dream has upped the game in the Tyler Breeze 2.0 style of people, but he retained the North American Championship. They took a selfie afterwards. Shayna Baszler defeated Io Shirai to retain the Women's Championship, and Shirai ended up beating Baszler with a kendo stick afterwards, so I don't know if that was some sort of heel turn on a heel. Who knows where that's going to lead to. And in the main event was for the NXT Championship. Johnny Gargano lost the title to Adam Cole. This was their second match against each other, because the last TakeOver, It was Cole, Gargano won, and Gargano won the match, becoming the NXT Championship holder after Ciampa had to drop it due to injury. So, do we see a third one possibly happening at NXT Toronto in a rubber match with their sort of 50-50 booking that's going on? But it's not bad 50-50 booking because both matches were phenomenal. Your thoughts on Takeover?
So I actually didn't get to see Takeover because I might have been preoccupied with this thing called Smash Wrestling in Toronto. So yeah, independent wrestling might have been a little bit more important that night than Takeover itself. But two things. Number one, I read online, I think it was today, with regards to Bobby Fish. He had his arm in a sling post Adam Cole match, and I guess that was just a precautionary measure. It doesn't look like he's injured again, but it looks like they're just just making sure that everything's good with him. I'm assuming that he's probably had an MRI since then. I haven't seen anything online report wise that says Bobby Fish is injured again.
He took one heck of a beating with that ladder match, and no sooner did he recover from something, and he was getting whacked again. And there was a couple pictures of him with some nice cuts and maybe even a hole in him after landing on one of the ladders. So
yeah, ouch. I was watching NXT, I guess it would have been last night, and before that they were showing NXT Takeover 25, the replay. So I got to see probably about half of the Cole versus Gargano match. Interesting to note that there was no ringside attendance by the Undisputed Era, which was good. So it was purely Gargano versus Adam Cole. At one point, Adam Cole was inside the ring, and Johnny Gargano was outside, and Cole was kind of motioning like, hey, come down to the ring to his Undisputed Era members. It was a ploy tactic by Cole, obviously. The match was, as far as what I've seen, the match was phenomenal as far as the finish went. Cole looked like a superstar. He basically, put Gargano out to pasture, took hold of the championship, and now he's going to run with it. It's certain guys, and I don't mean to sound like skeptical or anything like that, but certain guys belong in NXT. Gargano is one of those guys. Adam Cole's another one. I don't want to see him get moved up and lost. And I'd love to see NXT kind of flourish and start doing their own shows and, hopefully build a brand almost bigger than WWE. But as far as the direction the company goes, as far as NXT, glad to see Cole finally win this one. And as a fan going to NXT TakeOver in Toronto, I would love to see Cole versus Gargano in the main event. That absolutely be phenomenal.
Yeah, it could be a good match number 3 between those two. So it is getting quite late. We've gone quite long. That's why this is going to be another two-parter like it was last week for episode 58. 59 is going to be a two-parter. We kind of discussed the matches that were going to happen later on tonight, tomorrow afternoon from Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. It's Super Showdown. I know you really are not too keen on this because of the whole political aspect, and I can respect that because there's a lot of BS going on with the fact that you got guys who are refusing to go over due to the fact that women cannot be involved, and due to a gentleman like Sami Zayn, who is Canadian with Syrian descent. He's not welcome there either. Aleister Black with his tattoos, he's not welcome. And so you have Daniel Bryan, should I say, and Kevin Owens refusing to go over as well. So there's 4 guys saying no, and obviously the whole women's roster, with maybe a little bit of exception because there's rumor that possibly Alexa Bliss and Natalya have gone over, and WWE is working hard to try and get them actually on the card. If this actually does happen, I can see it being that they're wearing full bodysuit from the neck to the wrist and down like they did, I forget what city it was, but I believe it was Alexa and Sasha who did it, and they broke ground that way in a country that wouldn't allow women